What's good, guys, and welcome back to another episode in the RTS tutorial series. This episode will be continuing on from the last episode and we'll be working on advanced camera controls, so this will include zooming and tilting the camera. Once you open the project, you might notice that the level that's open isn't the level that we made in the last episode. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to open the level we made. So we'll go back to content and go into the levels folder and open up level 1. And now you'll be able to see that we've got the level open that we created last episode. And the first thing we're going to want to change is the player start location on the Z-axis, and we'll change it to 1500. And this is because we'll be changing the value when we are editing the zoom of the camera. So now that's done, we can go into settings at the top, project settings, go into maps and modes on the left, and change the editor startup map to level 1, and change the game default map to level 1 also. And now we can create the action mapping. So if we head over into input on the left, and we create the plus sign next to action mappings to create a new one. And then we can rename this one zoom in. And then we'll want to create another one. And we can call the new one zoom out. Then we want to create another for tilt up. And we want to create another for tilt down. And now we can set the input keys for this. So we'll want mouse wheel up for zoom in and mouse wheel down for zoom out. And then we'll also want mouse wheel up for tilt up. And we'll want mouse wheel down for tilt down. And because the zoom and the tilt action mapping share the same controls, we'll want to click the control box next to the tilt up and tilt down action mappings, and this will mean that you'll have to hold control while you're scrolling to tilt the camera. And now that the action mappings are set up, we can head into the level editor window. We can go into the content folder and into the character folder and then open up the RTS character. And the first thing we're going to want to do is to clean up the nodes from last episode. So if you drag over them and we press the C key, we can create a comment, and we'll call this comment move along X-axis. And this is just to neaten up the code a bit. So we can drag this up a bit, and we'll want to do the same for these nodes down here. So we'll press C to add a comment and call it move along Y-axis. We can drag that up. And now we can start programming the zoom controls. So first we want to add a variable on the left, and we want to call this variable zoom min. We want to make sure it's a float, and then we'll add another variable, and this one will be zoom max. And then we'll enter, and then we'll compile, and we can change the values. And the zoom in will be 1000, and the zoom max will be 2000. And these values will limit the camera from zooming too far out or too far in. And now we can right click and event zoom, and we event zoom in. We can drag off of the pressed, and we'll want to set world location. And we'll want to set the world location of the default scene route. And then we can drag this down here to make it a bit neater. And Control C, Control V, the default scene route. And then we can drag off this default scene route, and we can get world location. And then we can split struct pin. And now we'll want to minus from the location Z so that it zooms into the ground more by lowering the camera. So we'll go float minus float. And we will minus the float by 50. And then we'll want to clamp this float. So if you drag off here and clamp, float. And then the min and the max will be the variables we just created. So get zoom min and drag that into the min. And drag zoom max into the max. And then we can drag this into here if we split struct pin. We'll drag this into the Z value. And then we can drag the X and Y values into their corresponding pins. And then we'll move this to neaten it up a bit. And now when you zoom in, it will lower the Z location value while keeping the X and the Y the same. So now we want to copy and paste all of these to create the programming for the zoom out. And if we Control V, Now we can right click, event zoom out, and we can then drag the pressed into the set world location, and we can change the float minus to a float plus, so float plus float, and then we'll make it plus 50, and we'll drag that into the clamp, and then this should all work fine. So if we compile and save, click play, and then if we scroll the scroll wheel on the mouse, we'll see that the camera is now zooming in and out, and then this is working perfectly. So now we can click escape to close the game window, and now we'll want to comment all these nodes. So if we drag over all of them and press C, we'll call this zoom in, and then we'll do the same down here, and we'll call it zoom out. Okay, now that you set up the zoom controls, we can now start with the tilt controls. So if you head over to add a new variable, we'll call this one tilt min, and then we'll add another one, we'll call it tilt max. And the tilt min will be equal to the camera's rotation Y at present, because we don't want it rotating too much, so we see that that's minus 90. So we want to make the tilt min minus 90 as a default value. Make sure you compile if you can't see the default values, and you'll be able to edit them. And we'll make the tilt max minus 70. Then we'll want to right click and event tilt up. And now that we've got this, we'll just want to position it. Drag it over here and drag off the pressed. And we'll want to set the relative rotation of the camera. And we'll drag that up there, and we'll drag the camera down here to make it a bit neater. And we'll Control C, Control V, and we'll drag off the camera, get relative rotation, and we'll split the struct pin by right clicking. And then we'll want to be changing the rotation on the Y axis, and this is because on the camera the rotation of Y is at minus 90 to make the camera face down. So we'll want to drag off the Y axis, and then we'll want to find a float, add float, and then we'll want to add 5. And now that that's done, we'll want to clamp this float. So then we'll drag off it and find clamp float. And this is to set the minimum and maximum boundaries of how much the camera can rotate. So if we drag off tilt min, get tilt min, drag it into the minimum pin, then we get tilt max and drag it into the maximum pin. And now we can right click split struct pin on the set relative rotation, and we drag this into the Y pin. And because we're not changing the X and Z rotation values of the camera ever, we shouldn't need to pin them in. But just in case that you would want to, we'll drag them into their corresponding pins. And then this should make the camera tilt. So we'll copy all of these nodes and Control C, Control V. We'll move them down here. And we'll delete this event, and we'll get the event tilt down. And we'll drag the pressed into the set relative rotation. And then we'll want to change the plus node to a minus node. So float minus float. And we'll drag the Y into there. And we'll check minus 5. And then we'll drag it into the clamp. And now this should work, but we'll move these nodes down a bit to make it a bit neater. And we'll do the same here, just to neaten it up a bit, make it look a bit nicer. And we'll comment this by selecting all the nodes and pressing C. And we'll call this tilt up. And we'll do the same down here and call it tilt down. And then we can position them a bit better, just to make it look nicer, so it doesn't get too confusing when we add more nodes later on. And if you select the zoom in event node, you'll see that consume input is checked. We'll want to deselect this on all of the tilt and zoom events. And this is because if we are to use another one of these tilt and zoom events in the game, it won't work. So now we can compile and save. And we can click play. So now we can zoom out. We can also tilt the camera by holding control and scrolling, and we can tilt it down as well, and the clamp will stop it from tilting too much, either up or down, and we can zoom while it's tilted, so it's all working perfectly now. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're having trouble with anything, just ask for help in the comment section below. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you found the video helpful at all, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for similar content. In the next episode, we should be going over unit movement, so I'll hopefully see you there. Have a great day, guys.